Well, hello, everybody. This is Victoria, and I am here with a new soul sister, my friend Asha. And you know, we kind of went off-roading, I guess, with Sister My Soul. We kind of just faded it out, and I want to tell you how it sparked back up because I've connected with this really awesome, really soul sister, and I'm going to talk about what does the soul sister mean, Asha. And really, we've come together during this time of sheltering in place or sheltering in soul, and we found each other. And I'm going to let Asha share a little bit more about that. And we've been soul sistering each other, and it dawned on me that it's time to bring soul sister back to reach out to women out there. The original inspiration was to support women right where they were, and a lot of women are at home, isolated maybe, and felt like time to bring that connection back. So here we are, and I'm a big fan of restarts and reboots. So that's what we're gonna do. But I want to introduce my friend Asha, and I want to tell you in a minute how we met. But she's just an awesome woman. She is somebody that I've admired from a distance for a while. She is a minister at Center for Spiritual Living. She's got just so much the gifting and giving that she offers to our community, and we'll get into that more. But she's just a dynamic woman with a big heart and a beautiful soul. And I'm going to tear up now, but really, this is what I was drawn to. And and so I'm excited that when I asked her how did she feel about doing Sister My Soul conversations, since we were having them already weekly.
Yeah, really.
Of course. And you said immediately, yeah, let's do that. So really what we're doing is we're just we're recording our conversations we've been having for a while now, a weekly Zoom call where we lift each other up, and we're just going to expand that to circle around other women who might need the same kind of inspiration and support that you've offered me and that we've created together. So Asha, I just thank you for saying yes, and I'm going to pass it to you if you want to share about how we came together or anything else you want to add about that.
Sure. So Victoria and I met at a workshop 2 years ago. I think I saw a little 2-year anniversary pop up on Facebook. Yep. And we were both participants of the workshop that was happening on our property. We've got what we call 7 Acres of Heaven here in Port Angeles, Washington, and I'm the spiritual director for Center for Spiritual Living Port Angeles, and I also invite other people to come to our property and share their gifts with whoever they wanted to do that with. So there was a beautiful workshop, and we met, and there was something, our eyes met across the room, and we felt it connect, and we really enjoyed each other over the space of that weekend. And then somehow just never actually got together or had a walk or any of that. Yeah. And then reconnected during this COVID time, divinely ordained. And I've been looking for, another person in my life that's not in my community that I can connect with as a friend, as a support, somebody that's like-minded, that, as we like to say, we're like-minded but not alike-minded. So we bring each other our own unique perspectives. And Victoria, you have such a wealth of experience and training and wisdom. And I've been so lifted by our conversations every week. And we talk about all kinds of interesting stuff, and it just lifts me. And so, yeah, I'm happy to share. I'm a good talker. So, yes. So I'm really happy to engage in this process of this particular form and just continue what we've been doing. And if it blesses somebody in the process, great. My mantra is I want to be a positive ripple in the world. So as I know deeply that as I do my work, as I go deep and bring up and unearth all the hidden stuff inside me and look at all my old patterns and beliefs and ideas and then choose, do I want to carry those forward into my life now? That as I do that work, that it ripples out into the world, that it shifts the people around me, and I don't know how that works, and I don't have to know. And as a control enthusiast, I don't say control freak anymore. I say control enthusiast.
I love that.
There's a part of me that likes to know, how things are working or have the illusion that I'm in charge of them. And I'm not. We're not in charge of where this goes or
Yes.
who it reaches or how it reaches them. I think we're just in charge of being our authentic as we have been in these conversations, and just trusting that there is something guiding us to put it out into the world, and that wants to be known through and as us.
Yes,
So,
I love that so much. And that's what keeps me going in the various ways
yeah.
I try to reach out to people or offer something. That's my philosophy. If it helps one person, that's
Yeah.
enough. And sometimes maybe if that one person is just me, then that's
Right.
also enough, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes that's what's needed.
That's what's needed. Yeah, but I love that. And I don't even remember the exact moment we connected. Maybe it was through Facebook during this time of,
I think so. Yeah.
suffering
I'm sure it was Facebook.
yeah. And I was just feeling, as I'm sure many people had been and are possibly still, and that's why we're doing this, just kind of, I learned that I'm an introvert, and I love being with myself and with my husband, but I was just feeling this longing that wasn't being met. And then we connected, and we both went deep right away. It wasn't just a, hey, how are you? How's the weather? We were like, do you want to do some deeper work together? Yeah, let's do it. And we had that first conversation of just this beautiful idea you had, just to ask give questions to the other person, to ask ourselves our own questions, to have that external perspective, and to have a loving mirror hold that space. And we dropped so deep, and I knew this is a soul sister for me.
Yeah.
This is a soul sister. So for me, I want to hear what you have to say about what a soul sister means to you. But for me, a soul sister is just kind of what I described, someone that can catch you and hold space for you in the way that you need space to be held, that can see your essence and can revel in that essence and support and celebrate that. And where you feel like this, it's a deep trust. It's a knowing this person has my heart, can see my soul, and even has my back.
Yeah.
And I think that part of the reason I wanted to do Sister My Soul is I feel like as we're shifting, as the sacred divine is rising, the sacred feminine is rising, there's some wobbly areas of old patterning where we women, I feel anyway, got caught in that undertow of still being the competitors or not being the natural collaborators we are as women. We're still in that masculine way of being. It's fading more and more, but to reclaim that connection of support and seeing each other. And when you feel that with another woman, it's powerful. Like,
Yeah.
I can be myself, be seen, and be loved forward by another friend, a sister. So that's kind of my idea of a soul sister. I'd love to hear what it is, what it means to you.
Yeah, for me, there are people in my life that and had this instantaneous recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, there you are. Like I've known you for forever, even though we just met. And I have some people in some women in my life that I met when I was 17 and 18. And up until then, I hadn't really cultivated relationships much with women, girls at that point, but women. And they're still friends to this day. They're what I call my 40-year friends. And there was that instantaneous recognition. And for me, a soul sister is the relationship that it doesn't mean there isn't times where we bump up against each other, but in general, it feels easy, effortless, flowy, and powerful in that we do see each other and we're not afraid to nudge each other, ask the hard questions, challenge each other when we notice that we're stuck in old stinking thinking, or some old pattern that that the other may see a little clearly. So Soul Sister pushes, but always with this spacious sense of, I'm pushing you on this, and at the same time, I know you're exactly perfect just as you are. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to answer the question. and it's an open, spacious place to explore our own stuff in the presence of another, but not trying to fix each other or manage each other or handle each other, but allowing and creating space for each other to be exactly where we are. And sometimes that looks dark and messy and not our, highest and best holy self, although everything is holy, even the darkness.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you speak to the, I love that. Yeah, speaking to the element of the inherent trust too.
Yeah.
However I am, however I show up, I trust that you love me, you care for me. We have each other's best interests. And I think that it's so healing, and I really feel like it's so necessary for all of us to have at least one good soul sister friend.
Yeah, at least
I wish that for everyone. Yeah. And I too have those long-term friendships from, when I was 15, way back when, and those friendships too, that you don't even talk to them, but you pick up the phone and you're right back there in that moment, and that, with your friendship. Yeah. So great. And when I say the term sister, my soul, it might be redundant, but what does that bring up something different for you? Sister, my soul.
I don't know, I feel like I need to write a song about it.
I know, right? We should.
Yeah, there's something in there about, there's something that feels grounded about that. And I think because, as you said, I've talked to so many women. I have a women's group that we run here at my place. We call it Women's Wisdom. And so many of the women that come to this group have spoken about the idea that it's been very hard for them to trust women, and that they didn't feel safe in the company of women. And many of them came to this group with lots of backstory about how they've been in other groups and, were made wrong and kicked out and whatever the story is. My teeth are chattering, and whenever I have this weird physiological thing that when I'm talking to something about it that's really deep and really powerful and really true, my teeth chatter.
Wow.
It must be like an energetic thing, like an adrenaline thing, but I can feel it in my mouth, in my jaw. My teeth want to start doing this chattery thing. So there's something here that's really deep and really true. Maybe just for somebody else. But this space of creating safety for each other as women. I saw a post on Facebook, and it was about, parents trying to decide to send their kids back to school or not. And it said, here are the correct responses. I'm going to send my kids back to school. Great. That's great to hear that you made that decision. I know you've really had to think hard and long about that decision. I'm not choosing to send my kids back to school. Great. That's a great decision. I'm sure you had to think really long and hard about that decision. I don't know whether I'm sending my kids to school or not. Great. That's a great decision. Like, just support the person, trusting that whatever they're doing the best they can do.
Yes.
And in our group, we have a space, it's basically no back and forth. Somebody gets to share as long as they need to share, whatever they need to share, good. And then when they're done, they're done.
Yes.
And we don't say anything or comment on what they said, or let me tell you how to fix that, or there's just none of that. And I've watched people who've come for a while now start to settle in and relax and regain a sense of trust in the process, knowing that, some people talk for a long time, and I can start feeling the energy in the room, like, oh, they're going. But then at the end, they say the thing that's the most important for them, and often the most important for the rest of the room to hear. And if we hadn't waited, if we'd had a time limit, if we said, get to the point, or, any of that stuff that we do often in conversation, then that little nugget wouldn't have shown up. And I think that's what, or the power between our conversations, you and I, is we give each other space to just say what we need to say and then be done. and really listen.
Yeah, I call that sacred listening, that
Mhm.
sacred listening at a deeper level, waiting for that nugget to arise, or for the person to feel seen where they need to be seen and loved right where they are. And I love that you just keep it pretty open and let people just kind of empty until, maybe it takes a while to get to that place of there's no judgment here. You're just holding loving space and now I can bring it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started a women's circle about 8 years ago, back in the days when we could meet out together.
Yeah, I've been saying that a lot lately. Back in the day when we could have in-person meetings.
Yeah, and for me, I was like, what style do I want? And I love the talking, the passing and talking stick idea. But I've always, and every time I've been in a circle like that, I've always felt like I've got more to say. Wait, you know. And also, I think that there is a need for positive reflection instead of there are times where you just empty it and there's nothing. Okay, and then our monkey mind starts. What do they think about what did I just said? What I just said, right? So I do this when I do a circle. I pass a heartstone around, and I give options. I say, okay, you can just hold the rock and say, just give me love because I don't want to share, and we'll just give you some love. Or you can share, and you can place the rock in front of you and say, I am open to receive your feedback. And of course, we go over the feedback will be like, if it were me, nothing like, no shitting on and no judgment and no, trying to fix it. Just if it were me, or just giving a loving reflection. And then when they're complete, they pick it up and put the heart to the rock to their heart, which is to means now give me some more love to really integrate that. And then we pass that. And we do one round, and then we do a second round if something, because oftentimes we hear our story and someone else's story, and it wakes up that awareness through our compassion that we're witnessing someone. That has happened to me too, and we want to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So I do at least 2 rounds, so there's
Mm.
more space to get that warm up space, and also to feel as you're talking about really deepening the trust energy. I feel safe here. And I do feel this is why someone said to me, why women's groups? This is a time to come together. And I think it's, well, because we women are still needing to restore and repair again. Some might not agree with this, but, living under the energy of patriarchy and the system. And we're close in age, and I can still remember, growing up as a young woman, having to have these rules of being in a space with men and how to share and how not to share. And we're trying, women our age at least, are trying to unlearn all that crap. I mean, I think a lot of the millennials are awesome. Like, here's my voice and I have a lot to say, but there's still an energy of, which creates our not enoughness of there's only one winner, and it's competition and got to be the best, where we women are naturally supportive and collaborative. And so that's the energy we need to bring back. And I can still feel it in myself sometimes, that connected to the scarcity, not enough. And I do believe it's just the way we were raised in a patriarchal society. Did you agree with that? Do you?
Yeah, because it's very much like, our white conditioning. It's been an invisible sea in which we've been swimming,
Yes.
and until we begin to really recognize how that impacts my life, and then how that impacts the lives of those people I interact with, you know, I know my defensiveness, when somebody questions me on something, my automatic assumption that they're questioning that it's wrong, not that they're just posing a question, but they're questioning that I'm wrong. And so I have to then defend my position, or yeah, there's just so much stuff wrapped up in that. And then this competition thing, which is so weird.
Yes, and I think
In nature, they've now in science are proving it's not competition that causes evolution, it's cooperation. It's collaboration that causes evolution. And
yes, I
and then
love that.
we're going to
You
move
said
forward.
you said the key word, conditioning. And I think, during this time, this is a huge transformational time. It's so potent and powerful. And I'm like a broken record talking to my clients and on my YouTube channel, like, lean into this transformational time. And what's happening is everything we've been conditioned to be and experience personally and collectively is on the table to review.
Yep.
Why do you believe that? And why do we do this? And what can we do differently that is more life supporting for each other, ourselves and our sisters and people of color, everyone, all of us, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So were you looking at the clock just now?
There was a great line that I read in an article in our Science of Mind magazine this month that said something to the effect of, how will you serve whatever life puts before you?
Mm.
And I just love that phrase. How will I serve whatever life is putting in front of me? Isolation, COVID, masks, differences of opinion, old conditioning coming up to be examined, all that unearthing that is uncomfortable and clumsy and awkward, and we don't know how to be or respond. And I don't want to say I don't always know how to respond or be. And this question of how to serve this. How am I going to let it serve me? And how am I serving whatever is being placed in front of me?
Yes.
And that gave me this kind of spacious opening to just decide, okay, what seems to be happening? How do I want to respond to that? Do I want to think that it's somebody trying to make me wrong, or do I want to listen a little deeper and actually find out what they're really asking me, or what they really need to know?
Yes.
Can I step back or take a breath just long enough to maybe ask that question? What is it you really need to know from me right now? Or what is it you're trying to understand about what I did or what I didn't do, or any of that stuff? So for me, this idea of, I'm a big proponent of response versus reaction. My reaction always comes from my reptilian brain, my lizard brain that's going, look out, look out, look out, danger, danger. And my response comes when I take a breath and drop into a bigger part of myself that's connected to everything. And then I have a room to then make better choices for myself, better choices for those I love, better choices for how I can be in the world.
Yes. Yes. I love that. A reaction comes from that fear, just deep fear. And then our response comes from love, which allows our hearts to open more and to be present to something beyond our limited way of being or the conditioned self. So for me, like, and this is, I've stepped off of Facebook for a little bit just to regroup and see what is my message and how can I serve? Because I felt like I didn't know how to serve with the cacophony of division and so much going on.
Right.
And so I've stepped back for a lot of reasons, and especially during this time with Black Lives Matter coming to the forefront, and this wave felt like such an important wave to ride at this time. You and I've lived long enough to see the potentiality of healing before, but this one was a big wave. And how do we ride this wave for collective healing? And I really honored that, let people of lived experience talk and share so we could learn, right? So that was like, oh, I'm going to step back. And in the stepping back, I found like I'm enjoying stepping back and just learning more, and there's always more to learn. But also the dismantling of my own conditioning, and to see in myself, and that's what we can do, right? The greatest healing tool is, where is this in me? This microcosm of the macrocosm. Where am I? All these things that I'm witnessing and reacting to, and how can I heal? So beautiful. And this leads me right to the next question, because we came together to support each other during this time of the quarantine and sheltering in soul and learning and growing. And I really do think, as you were talking, my phrase that holds me is, why is this happening for me? Or why is this happening for us? Instead of, the other way, why is this happening? Evokes fear.
Yeah.
What's happening for us evokes possibilities, right? So in your mind, and you've got many different hats you wear as the minister, as the, friend, and community activist, and
a caregiver, a wife,
a wife,
sister, friend, aunt.
yeah.
community leader because I'm involved in an interfaith community here and in our compassion campaign for Clallam County. You know, it's not something I thought I would ever do, but you know, I kind of I'm an Aries. I keep falling into leadership positions. I used to say I'm a really good second in command, and then you know, Spirit just keeps laughing at me.
Yeah, right.
Like the collaborative. I don't want to be alone on the top of the pyramid at all. I have no desire for that. I might be, as I call myself here, the spiritual director. I don't like the term senior minister, but I like spiritual director because that's kind of, you know, I'm like moving the pieces around.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer collaboration as a mode of anything that I do. And sometimes it might just be collaboration with Spirit and me, or
Yes.
Spirit and me. But I find that I like this idea of working with others very well, even if it's you know, shared leadership. And that's something I'm calling our community to more and more these days. Is you know, I don't want to be the only voice of wisdom in the room because I'm not. There's a lot of wisdom in the room. You know, there's a lot of wisdom in our community. There's a lot of wisdom out here in the world. And we're so blessed these days that we can find this wisdom so readily and handily these days. And what we can't find online is a heart-to-heart hug and a heart-to-heart, you know, we can have a heart-to-heart connection across these amazing technologies, but that physical connection with another human being that I think we're all missing so much. Even words, you know, are so, you know, just to be able to hold somebody's hand and look in their eyes or give a really deeply felt hug is so important.
That
And
deep human connection. And what I have found, you know, is that for me, well, we've talked about this before, I've identified during this time, if I had any doubt, I'm really clear that I am a natural introvert. I have pulled myself out to be more in the public arena to support, run women's groups or facilitate whatever. But would you say you're a natural extrovert?
I used to think I would, I mean, yes, I definitely am an extrovert. I get energy from people. And what's been fascinating to me, especially during this time of COVID, but I've been noticing it since we moved up here to Port Angeles. I'm much more, I need much more alone time, much more quiet. I have much less need, like before I had a craving or a need for socialization. And I think that was to be seen, to be visible, to be acknowledged, to get the pat on the head, to whatever it was, to know that I was okay. And what I've noticed is that sort of is, so much of that has fallen away. And I don't need so much outside recognition or connection. I definitely need connection, and I need way more quiet and alone time than I ever used to. And that kind of surprises me a little bit because I do have a lot of natural extroversion. And notice, okay, I'm done. I need to just go and be quiet by myself now and do something, you know, alone.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, like I was at the grocery store the other day, and I noticed I started getting a little anxious with all these people around me. And I thought, that's weird. I've never felt, you know, give me a crowd of 1,000 people and I'm comfortable as all heck. But there's something shifting. I watch a show now with a big crowd of people and I'm like, they're all too close to each other.
Isn't it weird to watch shows and seeing all the hugging and the, yes, I know.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I need to shift that because there is going to be a time, sometime again, I'm confident that we will be able to gather and be, you know, together in public with many people. And so I'm just holding to that. And regardless of what, even if we never do, we're adaptable as human beings.
Yeah, we're resilient and adaptable. And I also think, again, too, like, why is this happening for us? Like, for me, I really love, you know, that the philosophy that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I think that what I witness anyway, where is this helpful for all of us? We have been maybe too lopsided and as you were speaking to, it's like addicted to the human connection rather than it's a blessing to have it. and maybe not being connected to ourselves enough and to spirit enough. And so even through Zoom, I had a lot of resistance to, I don't want to do Zoom. It's artificial. I can't touch you. I can't hug you. I can't feel you. But then I've noticed for myself is that my spirit or my soul has to be more present so I can feel your presence or other people's presence. So I feel like, I think it's surprisingly the other way, where we thought maybe Zoom was going to atrophy connection. We're maybe having to really expand a different way of connecting through soul, right?
Yeah.
Way. I don't know. I just think I got chills on that. I think there's something to that. But I wanted to, what I was going to ask you, and I admire all your leadership, all the ways you do step out in the community. For me, I really embrace and acknowledge, yes, I often said I have social anxiety, and it's an introvert thing. I, not only being an empath and introvert, I love people, but I can only, I have to witness myself in larger groups and decide maybe if it works for me or not. But you have just this, for me, I just see you as this open-hearted, come on, come all. And I really admire that. And no, that's not my natural way, but I really admire that in you. But what I wanted to invite us to talk about during this time, to reach out to our sisters out there, what I'm hearing, there's sort of a theme here of how do we deal with the fear of what's been going on. But what message would you want to give to, say, women maybe who might be a little isolated or disconnected from connection out there, or just ways of a message about how to navigate through this time? Maybe share a little bit about what you've been doing, and of course everybody finds their own way, but that's what's on my heart is to just reach those women out there, with maybe a little offering and blessing.
Yeah. I have a number of people in our community that live alone, and this has been particularly challenging for them, to have nobody else to bounce something off of. And when they lived alone, that was fine, because they found other ways to connect in the world with people. And yet living alone in this interesting time, and not having a way to get physical connections with others or continue whatever social, even as an introvert, I think introverts get a bad rap about, like there's something better about people, and I don't think that's true. I think that both have their beauty and their purpose and if we're created that way, then there's a reason, and that there's a need and a purpose for that. So I want to make sure that we continue to recognize that, one is not better than the other by any stretch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I encourage my people who live alone to reach out, to find, maybe just one other person to have regular connections with, whether it's the phone or Zoom or physically distant. Somebody said today a new word which I liked, and I want to think of what it was. Oh, safely distant. I thought that was because we don't like social distance. We don't need any more social distance. Physical distance, still has a feel like, oh, but you're so far away. But safe distance honors that we're being safe with each other. So that's my new adopted term.
I like that.
We have, can you have a safe distance walk with one other person? Even if you can't hug them, even if you, can't grab their hand or give them a kiss, to just stay open to a connection with at least one other person. And be willing, this is the hardest part for us strong, independent women, to be willing to say, I need help. I'm struggling. I'm in trouble here, and I need somebody else to just listen to me, or I need to go for a walk with you. Can you set aside time for me? Because I know for me, up until a certain point in my life, asking for help from others, because I could do it. My little 3-year-old is I do it all by myself.
We talked about that a lot, yeah. I do it on my own.
Yes, she's very powerful and very strong, and wants to make me believe that I don't need other people.
Yeah.
And we are not made to be alone. beings. We are made to be
Oh.
in connected communities. I've stopped using the word tribe because that's inappropriate for me. So connected communities, it's vital for our well-being. So even if we're an introvert, even if we're okay with being alone a lot of the time, I think it's vital for our well-being to be willing to risk being vulnerable and authentic and awkward and clumsy and ask for support.
Yes.
And it may not always come exactly the package we think it should, or, part of it is getting as clear as we can about what is it that what I love nonviolent communication. What do I observe in my body? What do I feel? What's my need? And what's my request?
Yes.
And to be able to make that request of somebody else in a way that is spacious. And if they say no, it's not personal. If they say no, I can't do that. Okay.
Yes.
The person.
That's right.
Move to the next.
I say no. My acronym for no is next option or next opportunity. If you get a no, just keep moving.
I like that.
And if you need to say no to someone, I don't have the capacity to support you. No just means you're giving them the next opportunity. It's just not.
I love that.
Not good. Just continue to flow, but it's not me.
Yeah, mine is sometimes it's not no, but not now.
Not now, right?
It's not no, but not now.
Yes.
And I've gotten better for myself about when people ask me, I need to talk. Can you talk? I'm gotten much better about saying, well, today's full. Here's 3 times I have available, or I can talk to you, but I've got 10 minutes to be clear about my limitations, my needs, my time, and be loving and spacious and honest about that, and not just abdicate because I'm supposed to constantly be giving to everybody time. No, I got to fill up my that's part of why I've been noticing so much of my own introversion coming into play, is I've got to fill up my well so I have something to give.
Absolutely. Yes. I like to say, so we can give from the overflow on that. I love all that. And this is why I love our conversations. Like, we just bounce and flow, like, it makes me think of an idea, and there's so much similarity, and then there's sparks of new ideas as well. And that one of the things that we have to unlearn and learn as women, because we're natural givers, is the receiving part. One of my Achilles heels for my entire life that I'm still working on healing and shifting is being abundant. I've had a lot of scarcity in my life, and it clicked. It dawned on me, and I don't know if it was one of our conversations, but I put these 2 words together, which was receiving and achieving. They're connected, and I have got to learn to receive as well. But the thing for me that I had to learn, it's like there's a saying in recovery circles: you don't go to the hardware store for milk because it's not there.
Right.
I'm in need of something, and the unconscious wiring takes me to somebody who cannot fulfill that need. I might just shut down even more.
Right.
So I've got to be aware and use my intuition and my trust and my, and find the people or the person that can fill that need, and then be vulnerable.
Yes.
I think that there's you don't want to just lead out with vulnerability, because you can possibly not, be
Yeah, I concur. I completely agree. Finding the right source.
Yes.
And sometimes that takes a little trial and error. And and I've had that same conversation with some members of my community, because they said, because of my abuse as a child, because of my past conditioning, I often am when I first meet somebody, I want to have like this deep, intimate relationship immediately, but we don't even really know each other yet. And I'm like, oh yeah, I used to date people like that. I would, like, oh, I love you, but I don't even know if we like each other. Like, can we discover if we have this flow with, that if there is a person or people that we begin to discover that we've got a flow with, then those might be the people that we tend to gravitate to.
Yes.
And people that, for me, it's this soul sister connection is also, I can never have, well, no, I'm not going to say never. it's harder for me to have a soul connection with somebody who's always telling me the ain't it awful story, or helping me reinforce my ain't it awful story.
Yes.
I don't want somebody falsely positive. I've done that enough in my life. Somebody's talked about the fire hose of positivity that they go to as their own defense mechanism.
Yes, that toxic positivity.
Yeah, I don't want to feel your pain, so I'm going to push you with positivity, which made me crack up. I'm like, oh, guilty. Been there, done that. So, you know, can I allow, I lost my train of thought there. It was really good too, but whatever it was, just being aware of that. My soul sister connections are those that will remind me of who I really am.
Yes.
Not let me buy into the lies that some part of my committee, you know, the part of my committee that likes to keep me safe by keeping me small and telling me how crappy I am and how wrong I am and how that was a bad mistake, blah, blah, blah. The other part of me that tells me, you know, only goodness, that, you know, it's like, don't worry, honey, I got this, you know, you're fine, you just take a breath. Those are the kind of people I also want to have conversations with. Absolutely. Are the ones that call me back to the truth of who I am.
Yes.
I'm in form, the beloved of the beloved, an embodiment of the oneness.
I love that. You know, two things. I love how we're going to have to set time limits on our conversations. Keep going. But two things on that. Number one is, and I'm sure you would agree, that I have found the level of my connections with women in particular. I had a lot of healing to do with that. I had some, you know, I love my bio sisters, but I had a lot of challenges with them. We're very different. I had two very fiery Aries sisters, and I'm very sensitive soul, and it was hard. And I had to learn to trust women again, and you know, and even had some betrayals with women, and to know that it's part of my unfolding was to heal that. Now the healing came from my own healing, from my willingness to befriend myself, and to really, you know, excavate some of that old associations to the feminine and to women and friends in general, and really do that deep dive and offer myself the friendship I needed. And then you draw in more people. So yes, I can say when I was in my 20s, I definitely was one of those needy, clingy friends. I would latch on to a friend, and what are you doing? Let's just do that. I didn't even know who I was, you know. So the second thought is that friendship, or any relationship for that matter, is in, you know, directly reflects the inner relationship.
Yes.
But we want to play, you know, a soul sister for me is someone who sees your essence and can play a bigger game of unfolding with you. And so it's like playing tennis. I don't know if you've ever played tennis. You ever played tennis?
A little bit. Okay. I was more of a racquetball person, but yeah.
Okay, so racquetball, anything that a game, we're just use that term game. You know, if you have been practicing a game, or really getting better at it, and then you play with somebody who doesn't even know how to hold the racket, you know, you don't get to improve and expand upon your skills. You know, so like for me, a soul sister too meets me where I am, but is also actively involved in expanding to that next level and playing a better game. I mean, I don't think like life is a game, but just being more engaged and yeah, like you said earlier, getting messy and falling down sometimes as we're practicing, but the goal is to step forward more powerfully. And so I think, well, you know, and it's fun. Like we do this. We're playing tennis with our words. We're throwing the ball over, and you know, racquetball even, and it's coming back and forth, and we're expanding. I mean, I'm feeling expanded by this conversation, and hopefully people listening will as well. So okay, so I guess that was my question about how have we been navigating this time too? For me, what have we been learning? How have we been navigating it? And you know, that we've touched on it already, the willingness to learn and to grow through this time, and to not miss this opportunity for healing and transformation in many ways, right?
In this improv book that I've been pulling a lot of stuff from in the last couple months, it talks about, you know, improv, you have to make mistakes. You have to learn how to make mistakes and to be okay with that. And my favorite thing about that was, when we make a mistake, Notice it, acknowledge it, and then learn from it. Use it to go forward. And so if we, start trying to be vulnerable with somebody and then we discover that's not the person to do that, okay, notice, acknowledge, and then move forward. How can I use this information to discover where am I in that? What did I do in that? Not what did they do wrong or should they have been different, but what did I do? How did I enter into that relationship? And what can I learn and grow from? And it's kind of the same, what can we do in this time of shutdown, of isolation, of whatever, this macrocosm, microcosm thing, whatever I'm doing is also showing up in the world. So as I'm unearthing and being willing to be messy and uncomfortable and make mistakes, but notice it quicker, acknowledge it quicker, and then learn from it and grow from it more quickly. We're seeing that everywhere. And a lot of messiness and a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
And then some people are taking that and using that to move forward instead of using that to remain stuck or ignorant.
Yeah. I'm reflecting on a conversation we had, and I said, I want to bring that back up. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember I said, how I've been navigating this time is I was noticing I was being deeply in grief, and feeling a lot of sadness and feeling really tossed around by everything I was witnessing, instead of trusting that what is happening is transformation or a rebirthing cycle. And birthing is messy and it's painful, right? Ow. And so, but that what helped me during this time was to think of it as I'm watching a movie unfold. Having my heart engaged in my desire to be of service and to plug in and support where I could, but to watch it as a movie unfolding. I had a old mentor years ago. She used to say, sometimes life is so challenging that we should just go make some popcorn and watch it, with that objective awareness, instead of being pulled and drug around by everything that's happening. That curiosity and objective witnessing, like, okay, this is happening and I'm witnessing it and maybe I have something to offer, but I don't need to be pulled around by it,
Right.
That was helpful. But there was something when I brought that to our last conversation or whenever it was, you had something else, and I hope you can remember because I'm not.
Oh, God.
It was something.
Don't kill me for that.
Okay, all right.
I'm very much in the moment.
Okay. All right. Well,
that brings me back to that thing. How can I serve what life is putting in front of me?
Yes.
How can I serve that? And how does it serve me?
Yes.
So that for me ties that back in together. Whether, that was not the profound thing I said last time. That was then.
I love
I have that a lot in prayer. Somebody says, that prayer you gave and the thing you said, I'm like, I don't know what I said. That was spirit. I had no idea.
Yeah, I know. I'll have a client, clients will say, could you repeat that back to me, what you just said? I'll say, I will try. But it came quickly, and whatever it was, I maybe remember, maybe I don't. Anyway, yes. Thank you for being here with me today. And what I want to say for anyone who's listening, as I'm going to relaunch this and put this back out on the YouTube channel, Sister My Soul, that we're going to be, what Asha and I do really well is we play word tennis really well, or concept tennis, and we both have deep spiritual rooting and healing practices, and the other connection we have is play. And that's how I think I first really connected with you.
The improv class. Yeah.
And I'm an actress from way back, and so was Asha, and she teaches this improv class, which is awesome. So we are open to topics. Lob us some topics, and we'll expand those topics and share. I know there's a number on my heart to share or talk about, but what we do in our private conversations is something that's been such a blessing for me, and I would ask that perhaps you would bless whoever is listening to us today or watching this conversation to tie our conversation up and offer it up with a beautiful prayer or blessing, if you would, Asha.
I would love to. and the tennis image, and yet we're not trying to ace each other. That's the cool part. You know, we're playing tennis with the purpose of letting the other person actually hit the ball.
That's right. Hit the ball and score a point, and we cheer each other on and doing it.
You got another one. That's good. So we're not trying to compete against each other in this tennis match, but actually let the other person hit the ball. I love that.
Yes.
What a cool way to play tennis now.
Passionate and collaborate, supportive, you know.
Yeah, I love that. All right. So let's just take a breath in the midst of all this talking. I take the breath that brings me right into this present moment, letting go of everything that has come before and everything that has happened later. Just reveling in this moment of now, feeling the powerful presence of the one life, whatever we choose to call this one life, that runs through all things, all life that has ever been, all life that will ever be. This powerful love and compassion and connection, cooperation and collaboration of spaciousness, light and dark, every facet of life is wrapped up into this one life. And I am a part of that, and everyone listening to me in this moment is a part of that, and everyone everywhere, including all the four-leggeds and the many multiple-leggeds and the rocks and the trees and the mountains are all part of this one life. And the universes beyond and beyond are all part of this one life. And I'm so grateful to remember that in this moment, to feel the power of this connection of soul sisters that is reaching out through the amazing medium of technology, through this love stream, where we all can be connected in consciousness and awareness, growth and possibility, stepping into something greater in each and every, even when we trip over our own feet, finding the dance within that and saying, ta-da, I meant to do that. There's something here for me in the midst of this process, and being willing to serve whatever life hands us as a way to move us forward, knowing there are no mistakes, only mistakes. So we take again, we try again, we do it again, and know that there is something holding us always in the process that is perfect and whole and complete as we are at the center of our being. So I just release this knowing, this prayer, this time together, trusting that it is all unfolding in the perfect way in the mind of the one. There's nothing for me to manage, handle, or fix. I just let it all go. And so it is.
So it is. Ooh, yes. Thank you, my sister. This has been sweet soul time. And thank you for saying yes. And we will be open to comments and feedback and topic requests, and here to support one another, each other as we unfold during this time. So many blessings, and we'll see you next time. Mwah. Bye. Love you.